2 weeks ago, I made a video about two individuals who make up the entire idea of what I've been ranting about for the past few months, about how there are people who have no idea on how to solve a problem that are hoping that other people do the work necessary that won't net any type of positive, but it will lead to a bunch of people in jail. And those same people who are saying, yeah, you should go do it, will just sit there comfortably thinking they've done the work necessary in the world. And I view that as stupid. And there was somebody who took great issue with that entire video and the premise that I was coming across with. And you know what? Since criticism is something many of us need to take in our life in order to grow, I welcome this challenge, and I quote, "Y'all not hearing what she is saying because you guys are more worried about criticizing her than realizing that they have a military presence in Washington, D.C., and that our country, the United States alone, is going through a lot. And all I hear is cuss words coming from the guy and the comments of white people being ignorant, saying that black people want to die because we want to stand up for ourselves. Nobody wants to go to jail and nobody wants to die, which is why you guys have seen we have not been protesting. I see that you guys are so want to argue, broken grammar here, rather than become a resolution to the problem. I'm going to make sure I stay off this channel because he is a problem rather than a solution." Again, broken grammar here. Am I being helpful or hurtful? And you know what? Maybe you have a point here. I don't really have any solutions here, and I just spout a bunch of cuss words, and I'm very bombastic. So I'm going to try it a little bit differently for you, and I hope you accept this different stance that I'm going to take. The idea that there are problems in this country that have long since been ignored by various individuals, from the small up-and-coming individual who lives in the neighborhood to the people in suits that are supposed to help this society for the better, and someone comes up with the idea that maybe to help alleviate the problem of crime is to bring in the military so that they can go in certain areas and help with the ongoing crime that is rampant in not just Washington, D.C., but it seems to be potentially going to occur in Chicago, maybe in New Orleans, maybe in all these places where crime is very rampant and no one seems to have a very strong idea on how to deal with it.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
And so for the moment, this seems like the best option. Could it be in the long run? Who knows? Optimistically, who can really say? But in the grand scheme of being against it and feeling as though you live under a dictatorship, that understanding is there. But when we're talking about ideas and solutions and resolutions, you would think that people would take the time to understand what could be a good idea versus a bad idea. And when you have individuals who are very heavy set saying that other people, specifically black individuals, who often are used as the example of being falsely incarcerated, to expect those people, demand them, ask of them to commit crimes of shooting military, scratch that, active military members, and thinking that that will be the thing in this current 2025 to establish any change whatsoever is a little bit confusing to me, because this is not the 80s, this is not the 90s, this is not the 60s, this is not the 70s. This is 2025. It is very narrative based in this society where you have people who will look at one moment in time, and because it's their political opposition, they will say, see, this is why we need this thing. So when you have people who are cheering this idea of hoping that black people go shoot active military, I'm sorry, but you are indeed fucking stupid. And to exacerbate my fucking point, let's bring in the topic of ICE and deportations, and we're gonna compound it with the idea of the active military. And we're also gonna bring up whatever's been going on in Texas with redistricting, redlining, gerrymandering, and people being locked in rooms because they went to Oklahoma or other countries, or not countries, but states, to escape having to vote on something that they deem as unfair. And we compile all that with stupid people recording themselves wanting others or campaigning for themselves to commit acts of criminal activity.
Okay, guys, so I would like to start a new movement called C MAGA, because People like that respond to fear and terror and aggression, not logic and empathy and, I don't know, intelligence. It doesn't work for them. So fear works. So if we all get our guns and use our Second Amendment right and our common sense, at this point this administration is begging us to rise up and revolt, and you see somebody with a MAGA hat, pew pew. That's what we do. That's the way. It's the only way. Put them back in their basements, make them scared again to be racist, homophobic, and terrible, just awful fucking pieces of shit. Because I would way rather live next to immigrants than MAGA people. MAGA people deserve to be terrified and scared to walk in the streets because they should know that real Americans are gonna kill them.
So yeah, this jerk-off pedo state terrorist right here, his name is Brian Macheno, and he's an ICE agent, and this is him unmasked. And also, his wife is a labor and delivery nurse. So, go ahead, make him famous. And if you see this motherfucker out in public, give him the cell block 1 treatment. You know, catch him when he's alone. Have a nice day, Brian. Bitch.
So, I'm going to say this very clearly. This might get me banned or restriction, but this is bigger than that. So, this is what I'm asking. Anyone in Texas that's against this shit, that's armed, get to the State House and demand the release of Nicole Collier. If they will not release her, then you know what?
Let's stop right there, because what he's going to say is a really dumb, dangerous thing to do. He's going to ask that somebody go there and shoot at these people for holding someone hostage. Now, to my understanding, this is one of the people who left Texas because they didn't agree with voting on something that was really unfavorable to a lot of people in Texas. And you know what? That's fine. And if you're trying to find ways to circumvent that, go ahead. And I don't think someone should be held in any capacity in a building until they do something, because that kind of is a little bit of kidnapping there. But the solution to that is not to go there with a gun and start shooting people. Why? Could anyone venture a guess? Oh, I know why. It's because you don't solve anything. You could likely die. You could likely get arrested. And ultimately, nothing gets solved, because it's to my understanding that this all was occurring at least at the end of August, around like the 20th to the 25th. It's now September. I'm almost deathly certain that that woman is no longer in that building held captive. So ultimately, all you needed was just like a little bit of patience around that subject, and it would have smoothed over to the best of the abilities. But no, we need more bombastic people like you that exist, because you're the one that's fighting for resilience in a world where Big Tyrone is salivating to touch your beard.
So how about like a fire brigade, but like with blowtorches, that shows up when the Gestapo tries to like abduct your neighbors or your friends or your family members or yourself? You know, think about it, like a dozen folks with like flamethrowers just kind of showing up, looking super menacing. You think those masked cowards are gonna stick around to see if they really mean business? Just throw a little, like, you know, holy water on them, you know, bless them a little bit. See if they stick around the neighborhood. Fire melts ice, right? This is a satire, by the way. Satire.
And let me ask this very basic question. After you saw all of that, after you watched all of that, my question, what changes after you do that? What occurs differently that would benefit you, I, or anyone else who could potentially have a problem with anything going on that's being in control of the Orange Man? I'd argue nothing. I'd argue Orange Man sees all this shit and says, well, no fucking wonder I have this idea. We need to do it more and more and more and more and more. And it's not gonna go away unless we actually do the things I want to do. You see how you don't really get anywhere? You see how bitching at me for bitching at stupid people gets you nothing? You see how getting more mad at me for saying fuck, shit, bitch, or damn is not really helping your strong point? Because I can understand being upset that I have a very vulgar vulgar tongue, but you need to focus on what I had a vulgar tongue towards, because I'm not really against a bunch of people upset or feeling that they're going to be under a little bit of fear knowing that the military is going to start being around more and more and more. There's really no issue with being afraid there, but when your idea is to shoot them, you lose that understanding that maybe somebody has a real solution here. And you know what? I said it a couple videos ago in pertaining to school shootings and how no one has a real idea that's actually going to get the ball rolling so that that doesn't become something everyone's desensitized to. It's important to say, I don't know what to do, because when you say that, you create a little bit of confusion in the area where you don't have to just automatically jump on the first idea. You can just take time to figure out something. Maybe reach out to some politicians who are also not in favor, and maybe you could try to convince the orange man that, hey, we are not for this and we have better ideas to police our communities, police our streets. Or you'll be delusional as fuck to think that nothing's going on in society, because on the one hand, you got people complaining that it's going to lead to black people getting hunted down.
We believe that the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps here in Washington, D.C. and around the United States of America. We believe that.
And then you got black people who are saying, oh, well, this is perfect around here.
If Black Lives Matter, how come in the past 11 days, since President Trump has federalized the DC Metro Police, no black individual has been unalived? I'm going to say that again. How come in the past 11 days, no black person has been unalived in DC since President Trump has taken over the DC Metro Police? There's a stat that says in the past 7 years in DC that black people are 112 times more likely to be unalived than white people. So if Black Lives Matter, the left, Democrats, progressives, how come you all are not celebrating that no black person has been unalived in the past 11 days in DC since Trump took over?
Who knows how this truly goes in the long run? It's still relatively a new thing. It's still something people are worried about in terms of going into other states. And it's unfortunate that we're all going to have to wait and see how this plays out, because as I said earlier, it's looking like it's going to start going to other places, like Chicago being the next one up. And we're going to see how this all goes into either a good idea or a bad idea. But let me just make my point very clear, if I haven't made it already. When you have issues with your political figures, when you have issues with the rulings that they make, actively getting on camera and saying you're going to shoot military members, promoting other people to shoot military members, promoting violence, whether it's for other people to promote or for you to act upon it, you don't change anything. You strengthen the conversation for your opposition that already doesn't like you. And they're chomping at the bit to have more examples of people doing this shit so that they could be more emboldened to do what they've already been doing. And if you're more mad at me saying fuck, then you got a fucking problem and it's on you to fucking solve it. But in the meantime, I recommend you subscribe to the channel, because with this vulgar throat I have, I use it to inseminate your minds with the logic of the common folk, because I don't have no idea to sell you. I don't have no narrative to promote. All I have is stupid people saying stupid shit, and I want to make fun of stupid people and the stupid shit they say. And if you like that, subscribe. If you don't, cry about it. Mwah! Goodbye.